fire inside the walls. I did what I could.
What is up, For Honor family? This is a little later than normal, but I was out of town with Mrs. Ardor. But now I'm back. And the Year 9 Season 3 Title Update 1 Warriors Den has concluded, and I'm going to cover all of the details along with my thoughts, and I definitely have a few about this hero skin. And thank you to those that provided their thoughts on the post that I put out about the hero skin, because that's really all I could do since I was out of town. So this was the 200th Warriors Den, so they celebrated that with some Larry Q&A and some behind the scenes with Max, but I will not be really covering that. I will mention the Q&A because I just thought that was kind of interesting to everybody, but you'll need to rewatch the Den for that. This is a Breach season, which brought us a new Breach event, which is very interesting, and we have freaking cross progression finally coming to the game, and I will be letting you know some very important details about that. Conqueror got his royal catcher, and in Year 9 Season 3 Title Update 1 as they promised. I'll go over those patch notes, and we have some interesting feat adjustments as Testing Grounds will have 4 new heroes, all coming with some unique feats you should be aware of, especially if you didn't play previous Testing Grounds for PK and Berserker. There are some revenge changes in there as well that you definitely want to be paying attention to. So I will briefly go over those other details like the Battle Pass info, the Hero Fest for this title update, and more. But if you want to navigate to the weapons or any other details, as always, use the timestamps accordingly. But we gotta start with one thing, and it's not cross progression. That's gonna be next, but let's start with the new Nobsuhi skin, Lady Saori.
Ancestors, I beg you, forgive me.
And I hope that ancestors give me forgiveness for some of the things that I have to say about this hero skin. But I'm gonna just start with the information first. Saori means always weaving, and they said that is meant to represent her nobility, her beauty, and how deadly she can be with her naginata. I think that's an extreme stretch with the use of that meaning, but it's nothing to harp on, so I'm gonna keep going. For Honor Team started off by describing what's happened to this point in previous Year 9 seasons. They are leaving behind the main narrative timeline in Year 9 Season 3 and going back a few centuries. Lady Saori's story is referencing a true story twisted into legend, thrown into the world of Heathmoor, and it's dating back shortly after the samurai's arrival to Heathmoor. Lady Saori is the Lady of Castle Chiyo, which in the future we know it as Kazan Castle. The Emperor called her husband away, and he took most of the army away with him. They didn't anticipate any trouble, but a rival daimyo, Katsuo, seized the opportunity and surprise attacked Castle Chiyo. Lady Saori fought valiantly, being the warrior she is, and Ona Bugeisha, as she's made out to be in the story, but she knew it was a losing battle even though she hoped they could make it through the night. Her full short story can be found on the For Honor website. So that's the Lady Saori lore. Now let's talk about the skin itself. They did something very unique with the Nobsuhi skin. Her emotions bubble into what they say is rage into sorrow, which they show with a special effect they added to the skin where her eyes bleed more and more as her health gets lower. And that's an awesome touch to a hero on paper. On paper? Okay, so now I'm going to go a little back and forth here with the details and my thoughts, so bear with me. First, I want to say she is a quintessential Nobsuhi. She was trained to defend her homeland as an Onabugeisha would if it came to that, and it did in this case. I wasn't looking for that in this skin, and mainly because of who they based the story after. You can tell she's inspired by Tomo Gozen, who was a fierce warrior and who was described as especially beautiful with white skin, long hair, and charming features. You guys know I did videos about Tomo Gozen and how that has to be the choice for a Nobsuhi skin. And a fun fact that Nobsuhi players probably already know, but this is the only Nobsuhi variant that will have her hair down and flowing. So I was happy they gave her that, just like Tomo Gozen. But something I did take issue with was the way they depicted her bloody eyes effect. I could tell they did lean into the legend of Tomo Gozen because one of the stories written about her mentions an account from a monk that described her eyes as 2 black wells of sorrow. So I see why they went with that angle of her eyes bleeding as her health is low. I just don't think sorrow best describes a warrior like Tomo Gozen. Maybe when her actual short story comes out, it will give me more context. But from what they said and displayed, I wanted to represent the ferocity side of Tomo Gozen, who was an Onimusha, and from what I've read, doesn't give off the passive vibes I get from Saori. Now I know some of you say, well, I read something that says Tomo Gozen was an Onabugeisha, but if you actually read about what Tomo Gozen did, and I'm gonna get into some of that here in a bit, you would say, yeah, you're right, Ardor, it's Onimusha. And some stories do say Onimusha, others say Onobugeisha. So my gripe is really the representation of Tomogozen within Lady Saori, since Saori is simply defending her home as an Onobugeisha, versus Onimusha, who is leading the charge outside of the walls. Which in the story of Tomogozen, it does say she was a warrior worth 1,000 and rode into war alongside of men. Tomogozen commanded over 1,000 troops, so I wanted more of that legend expressed. But I'll have to be content with the compromise to have her at least leading within the walls of her home. So that's one of the reasons I have conflicted feelings about her. She has a natural somber look to her, a look of dismay and loss. I was looking at the thumbnail, I think IGN, for the trailer they had on IGN, and I was like, oh wow, she looks like sad. Like she could put a homeless sign up and you would probably want to give her some money. I was like, what is this? And Tomogozen took generals' heads off for her man. So I will say having her eyes turning bloody as she approaches death is a very cool feature, but just the way they went about it, I wasn't a fan of. As far as her fashion, it's not bad. The ornamentation on the back of her head resting on her hair changes with the material color along with the metallic look that displays on the design of her clothing. With the ability to adjust materials more freely, it allows you to create some more unique Saori looks. We have better hero skins than hers, I will say that, and I would have liked her to have a more simple Tomogozen headband with less ornamentation on the front and allow it to flow since they went with the Tomogozen comp. I understand the majority of the look, but if you're taking up arms in the middle of the night, are you going to take the time to put on that headgear? Probably not. But now I'm just getting messy. I do like the staff changes you can make with your color pattern, but man, I wish there was a way to change the base color of the staff as well. There's always going to be something that we don't like. I get that, y'all. I get somebody's going to complain about something. I don't look at this as complaining. This is just a slight critique. But all in all, I'm happy we have a Nobushi skin, and I'm happy we have something that is also very unique to this Nobushi skin, and that's those bleeding eyes. One last thing, did you notice the spider on her pendant and the spider theme all over the map of Castle Chio? It appears we're going to get the Web of Yorigomo event to come back as the Halloween event. The last time we had this event, I believe we got the Kensei skin. Could we get a male Kensei skin along with the Shigoki skin? I say Shigoki because I just really want him to get an Oni skin during this Halloween event. I just think it's more fitting. It's possible even if it's unlikely. It does say Throwback Halloween events, plural. So, hey. We'll see. Okay, now let's get into cross progression. We asked for it, we got it. It's officially here on September 11th. I'm going to go over a lot of things not only discussed in the den, but also what I read in the FAQs. The top things being linking your account is mandatory. Make sure you read the FAQs ahead of time, and I'll put a link in the description so you can go straight to them. And also you can go back if you make a mistake, but you have to talk to the Ubisoft support team to assist with that. So those are really the three top main things, but there's so much more. So what's happening with cross progression? Number one, cross progression will initially synchronize elements to your inventory across all platforms. That's Xbox, PlayStation, and PC. This will be syncing reputation levels and campaign progress. Number two, you need to own the game on the platform that you were linking. I had PC Game Pass that I'm getting rid of, and I asked if it would affect me since I didn't buy the Ubisoft Connect version, and Ubisoft support said it would not. So that's good news for me. Number three, link your accounts beforehand to set yourself up for success. I'm showing you an image here of my linked accounts that I have on Ubisoft for an example. Number four, once Y9S Season 3 launches and you launch the game, you will need to link your accounts. You can't do it later. So if you're not ready, don't boot up the game. However, if you merge the wrong account, you can unlink and relink 2 times. As mentioned, I highly recommend you read the FAQs because it goes into things like once the progress from the accounts merge, the progress will remain on the Ubi account even if you relink that Xbox, PlayStation, etc. account to a different Ubisoft account. So definitely read the FAQs, y'all, to avoid any potential headaches. I'm gonna keep repeating that because it's so important. I'm telling you this information, so it's still good to hear it, but sometimes it's better just to read it yourself. Number 5, all your hero reputation across your accounts link will be added to become your new globally synchronized hero reputation. So if you're rep 500 on your Xbox and you're rep 200 on your PC, you're gonna now be rep 700 altogether on all platforms. Number 6, the campaign on the platform with the furthest progression and hero tactics progression will be kept. So if you're only through the Knights in story mode on one, and you're through the Vikings on, let's say, your Xbox, and you're only Knights on your PC, then when it merges, it's gonna take your progression from where you were through the Vikings. That's just how it's gonna be. Number 7, the amount of steel from each platform link will be added together. Any purchases will be consistent across all platforms, and the steel amount of each linked account will be the same. Number 8, cosmetics, loadouts, skins, etc. will be shared across platforms. So in my case, I'm definitely going to be looking for my Dead by Daylight gear on my PC since I have it for a few heroes on my Xbox. I am really looking forward to that. That is probably what I'm looking forward to the most. Number 9, achievements will be shared across platforms. Number 10, Battle Pass progress and rewards will be shared across platforms. However, after Year 9 Season 3 Title Update 1 update, you can only claim the Battle Pass rewards on the account you purchased them on, which still sucks in my opinion. And it doesn't make much sense. What's the point of cross progression? You know, if I buy my Battle Pass on PC, why doesn't that stuff carry over to my Xbox or my PlayStation? That's the one thing that doesn't make sense about all of this. Number 11, dual rank will be synchronized for you across platform. Number 12, your faction will be the faction you selected on the system you're on when accepting the cross progression prompt. So if you're a samurai on Xbox and you're a knight on PC and you want to stay a knight, you need to accept on your PC. Number 13, you can't have simultaneous sessions of For Honor if the other account you are on is one of your linked accounts. That's pretty self-explanatory. So if you have a linked account on PlayStation, you have a linked account on PC, you're on your PC, you're playing on your PC, and then you got another TV beside you for some reason or downstairs and you want to go down and you want to go play on your PlayStation, you can't be playing them at the same time. So I wanted to make sure to cover that. It's extremely important, but most important, go check the FAQs for yourself if you have questions. They are there for a reason. Now let's get into that bitter end game mode. We have a new event mode as we head into our breach season here in Year 9 Season 3. It's on Kazan Castle, but since this is taking place centuries before, at this time it's Chiyo Castle. You're placed right into the final phase. Attackers start with 16 respawn tickets. I say start with for a reason that I'll divulge in a second. The defenders need to defend Lady Saori and the side lane capture point. There's a reason I put emphasis on that side lane as well. So what makes this any different from a typical Phase 3 breach match? It's quite a bit actually that should make things fun and interesting. There is no ballista and there is no defense or attack boost. Both teams can still capture the healing point. They made all players move faster and they revive faster. They did this because they want faster gameplay. Now remember when I mentioned both attackers and defenders needing to pay attention to the side point? Well, that's because if the attackers capture the side point, they get a 1-off 4 extra respawn tickets. This adds some emphasis to the defenders to not give up the point and for attackers to get it. In addition, they remove feats from this mode, so it is just hero versus hero at their base level, how they were birthed into For Honor. I absolutely love that, and I love when they do that in these 4v4 event modes, especially this one since boosts are also removed. On the surface, you think, oh, it's only Breach Phase 3, but the more you dive into it, the more I like what they did. It would be more skill and tactically based without any healing, arrows, or AoEs that spare your life on occasion. And when I say healing, I'm talking about those feats. You know, you got Highlander that can pop that tier 4 and heal. You have Nobsuhi that has a tier 3 that she can heal herself. I'm talking about things like that when I'm talking about healing. Of course, we know we got the healing point, but I like what they did, and I'm curious what y'all think about it. Now moving on to the Battle Pass, they described it as ominous. You can get the Woeful Megamorphosis and the Woeful Protector battle outfits, 2 distinct colors to add to your fashion closet. I'm all about adding more fashion because you can get creative with it all. You can get the Woeful Awakening and Woeful Custodian effects that are both masked and are looking pretty dark and sinister. You have the Woeful Flower Ornament. It goes along with the theme if you paid attention to the battle outfits and the effects. As expected, it should. You can get the Chair Slam execution with the Battle Pass. It's always good to add an execution, and breaking a chair over your opponent that you grab out of thin air is very For Honor. So enjoy that as you wish. It would be cool if you could do a team execution, maybe a paired execution, where a teammate threw you the chair and you cracked it over your downed opponent. But hey, we may get there one day. We have the Slap Therapy Free Roam emote. This is a paired emote that you do with a teammate. If you think you deserve a slap for feeding revenge or stealing someone's takedown when that renown could have helped them get a crucial tier 4 at that time, you could always use this as a way to say sorry to your teammate. I will show the weapons at the end of this, but here's a preview of the Woeful weapons here. We also have a free event pass. Nightmares Dawn free event pass will run from September 11th to October 2nd. You can get the Horns of Katsuo battle outfit. I actually like the color combo here. Think you could do some great things with this. Katsuo's ambition effect, which is a nice looking effect. I like that cursed ram look they have here. Katsuo's ram ornament is available to you with this free event pass. I think the free event pass is actually solid. It's for honor, it's free, and it could be worse. Jumping into the Legacy Pass, the Year 5 Season 3 Legacy Pass took place after the drought of Year 5 Season 2 and has more of an aquatic or oceanic theme. So if you choose to get this pass and complete it, you will get Tempest Repos and Tempest Vitality battle outfits, more color patterns for your fashion closet, as I like to say, but with cross progression, you may have this for some of your heroes, so that's another bonus. Tempest of Rand and Tempest of Asia, these effects are available as well. I would prefer the effect without the mask, but you get what you get. For those that like it, enjoy. You also can gather the Tempest Crown ornament. You can get the Float and Goat signature. All of this is retrofitted for all the heroes, so go nuts. A decent execution you can get as part of this is the Water Summoner execution, surrounding your opponent with water and slamming them to the ground, splattering them, so it's pretty violent. We are always looking at the weapons we can get, and the Tempest weapons are the weapons for the Year 5 Season 3 Legacy Pass, and a preview of the retrofitted weapons will be at the end of this video. They showed armor variations for Samurai. Each season we've been getting a new faction variation. They continue it here with the Samurai. Nothing too special. If you want to look at all of them, I think Sohei's probably looks the best, but if you do want to look at them, you'll see it at the end of the video. They did Warriors Den trivia with Larry. Since this was the 200th Warriors Den episode, they put out some Den trivia. It was 10 questions that I'll put here, and if you want to go down memory lane and answer them, have at it. The answers are on the Den episode if interested, but I'm sure a lot of you already know these answers or knew these answers. I know I did. There was one, I think, that I was questioning a little bit more than the others, but most of them I knew like right away. So let's get into testing grounds. They said they learned their lesson from only testing one hero's feats in testing grounds, and now we will have 4 heroes to test out, with 2 of them returning with alterations. Centurion has Amplified Roar, which is a passive feat where the 3rd hit of Lion's Roar unbalances. That is strong. That was my first reaction. I was like, that is strong. For those that are wondering, Haymaker is gone. Eagle's Windfall replaces it. That's going to be that 2nd feat. The primary thing with Amplified Roar is testing its functionality. That's what JC said, testing its functionality, because they know this is strong. So don't just say this is too strong in your feedback. It sounded like they already have an idea of what they want to do, but just be warned on that. So the other feat is Eagle's Windfall. It has a passive AoE, replaces Haymaker, as I mentioned. After landing Eagle's Talon, this will reduce enemies' attack and increase ally movement speed. As you can tell, they are trying to up the effectiveness of Eagle's Talon and make Scent players want to use the move. If you don't know, Eagle's Talon is Scent's pouncing move on a downed opponent. I like this because the benefits are not game breaking, yet they're beneficial enough that coordinated teammates may scrape another advantage off of good execution. And that's what we all want. I want people that really understand how to play the game, how to work with each other to accomplish a goal. The 3rd feat is Vanglorious Pugio. Throw a projectile that binds, kicking bound target, unbalancing them. So that's crazy. You throw the projectile, normally you just catch them and then you might get 1 hit off of it. But now if you kick them, you take them down. And this is another way that they open up the use of Eagle's Talon, and is a good feat adjustment that adds to Scent's prowess. The tier 4 is Refined Phalanx. So that's the new and improved tier 4 in Phalanx. It gives all nearby allies a moderate shield and cleanse negative status effects. That includes bleeding, fire, corruption, damage, attack buffs. Anything negative will be removed. And with the strength of like Warmonger's tier 4, this is a great counter to that. Or Nail Bomb even. Now for Peacekeeper, she has her Crossbow Wound, which this feat is the same as the previous testing grounds, but instead of dealing 5 damage and 10 bleed, it deals 1 damage and 10 bleed. If a hero deals less than 10 damage, it's basically invisible on the health bar. That's what they were saying. So they left it at 10 damage, and it has to be 1 damage to even get bleed. So that's why they have the 1 damage. So when PK gets opponents bleeding, she gets enhanced lights and unblockable finishers for bleeding opponents, so this is beneficial even with 4 damage less. The 2nd feat is Bleed Armor. That's a passive. It goes unchanged from her previous testing grounds. After a hit on a bleeding target, you gain a defense buff for a short duration. I didn't have a problem with this before, and I don't now. That defense buff goes by fast, but you could always get it back quickly as well. Her 3rd feat is Sanguine Serrations. They removed Deflect Expert, which I'm glad they did. Attacks apply bleed. The passive part of this feat is to hit a bleeding target to reduce the feat's cooldown. I like the give and take with this one. You're rewarded with a lesser cooldown based off of your play. That's a seamless reward to get behind and should work great for PK players. The tier 4 is Induce Fear. It's a passive AoE. We saw this in the previous testing grounds. Nearby enemies receive a defense buff. They lowered it to a 15% debuff, but they may raise it. The AoE size remains unchanged. So this makes players heighten their awareness of her a little bit more in team fights. You don't want any debuffs if you can avoid them. Shinobi is the third hero that we're going to see in testing grounds. His first feat and fourth feat are new, and no more shooting stars as a tier 2. So he has Sickle Cloudburst now as his tier 1, gain an attack buff after completing Sickle Rain. More choice as a player to keep your frame advantage. All for it. The second feat is now Refined Nukubi, which is a passive, gain stamina on successful hits. Move from the tier 3 to the tier 2. The dev stated it was underwhelming as a tier 3. You get it too late, they said. So this feat replaces shooting stars. It's going to allow Shinobis to farm minion lanes sooner, that's for sure. The next one is Yaba Uba. It's passive, gain health on successful attacks. I used this successfully as a tier 4, so the same feat just moved up a tier. It's going to work really well for Shinobi players. And the new tier 4 is Cruel Helix. So you throw 2 waves of Shuriken, dealing damage to everyone around you. Now just understand, when they say everyone, it's literally everyone, not just opponents. The first wave pushes you out, they said, and the second wave shouldn't hit you unless you're close enough to the Shinobi after the first wave. You'll also get hit with the second. It's a big AoE damage, but it's not major damage. They didn't get into the damage numbers there, so you're just gonna have to play with that when you're actually in testing grounds. So it's modified shooting stars as a fourth feat, basically. They wanted to keep that ninja feel, and you can tell they wanted to keep that element that shooting stars brought, and this was the result. So jump in testing grounds, give it a shot, make your judgments. They understand shooting stars' flaws, so I would expect this to be an improvement, but until we test it, it's hard to really get a feel for it. Now the fourth hero that they have is Berserker. So Berserker has the Swift Axe Throw. I don't know if you played his initial testing grounds where they had his feats in it. He did have this. Throw an axe that deals light damage. Getting hit reduces cooldown of the feat. Change it to 90 seconds instead of 60 seconds. Blooming Rage is the second one. It's a passive. Getting hit increases damage and movement speed for a short duration. I love the idea behind this. Zerk gets angry, he becomes more of a problem. That's how I envision the hero, so it's good to see this stick. Unwavering Fury is the third feat. Gain infinite stamina and enhanced light attacks for 20 seconds. That's down from 30 seconds in the first Zerk testing grounds. And the fourth feat is Valhalla's Blessing. This is the one that was wild. You gain super armor and cannot be killed in combat for a short duration. 20 seconds, now down to 10 seconds, and the cooldown increased to 180 seconds from 120 seconds. So I did think this was going to need some work from the last testing grounds, which wasn't hard to see, and it got it. I feel like 10 seconds isn't that bad. And I say that because we have AoE attacks that can be dropped in our Feast or Famine. So with this, Zerk has a last gasp effort to go in, remove him or herself from the fight, or do whatever is advantageous for the hero. You got 10 seconds to do it. Somebody can just chase you down if you're running away anyway, so you might as well just take advantage of it and fight to the death. Now, the last thing they're putting in testing grounds is revenge scaling. This is very interesting, so listen up to this. Revenge generated is now based on the amount of damage reduction you receive from hit stun rules. But it says if you attack someone with the 20 damage attack, you would feed 20 revenge, but if you had a 20% modifier and the attack was 24 damage, you would still only feed 20 revenge. You can see how that would be problematic. The same applies if you have a 20% damage reduction applied to yourself. The attack does 20, it feeds 20, but you end up taking only 14 damage. So that's not good in that way either. So now revenge is based in the amount of damage you deal post reductions and modifiers. So like the previous example, they provided if you have 20% reduction and get hit with an attack dealing 20 damage, you feed 16, not 20 revenge. I know they said these changes were meant for players at a higher, more competitive level, but even to my brain and my level, these revenge changes on the surface make a lot of sense. It's baffling. It wasn't like this to begin with. So testing grounds is just filled with some interesting things to check out. So make sure you jump in to test these out and provide thorough feedback. So for patch notes, we had bug fixes, and this was desperately needed for Virtuosa. So Virtuoso bug where she could evade minions and repost is gone, thankfully. They wanted to get it done earlier, but it was a code fix, not a data fix. Also, Virtuoso target swap repost is gone. She will always repost the person she dodged now. These two fixes are excellent and were necessary bug fixes for an already strong hero. She doesn't need any more help. This is some other good information to know. And maybe not good information for some players to know, but there are no other nerfs or buffs coming to Virtuosa this hatch. She is sitting at a 50% win rate flush, so they're going to keep monitoring her, and I mentioned this before, I don't think she's OP. And as they stated during the den, her 50% win rate is what they're looking for. So as players, we need to continue to adapt to Virtuosa. The evade mechanic is not giving her the advantages that some may think. I do agree she's strong and she's tricky as heck to deal with, and if you're not locked in, it's even more of a problem. I know the mechanic itself, you're probably like, I just don't like it, because you can just stand there and evade, but you can get around it by guard break. You know what I'm saying? You can't just allow somebody to just sit there and evade. But I do like Virtuosa. They're watching her, so keep giving your feedback whether you think she's OP or not, and let's see where it goes in the future. A quick note was that quick play settings will now be set so you don't have to keep changing them. So I think that's a minor positive, because I know sometimes I would go and I'll have PvAI going and I'll go to my quick play and I'll click on Dominion and it'll take me to PvP. So I'm happy that they got that fixed. At least I'm thinking they got that fixed. So now let's get into the heroes. So Adamusha got nerfed. Apparently he was overperforming, so he's getting nerfed. The extra forward movement they gave him along with original damage numbers made him too strong, they said. So chain heavy attack now deals 26 damage in all three stances, down from 30-27 in the side and top stance. Heavy finisher now deals 29 damage, down from 31. Shigoki got a slight buff. Headbutt now deals 12 damage, up from 10, now costs 15 stamina, down from 20. This was done because he can no longer chain to heavy on headbutt, and they said he was suffering because of this, but they also said his dual win rate is still very high, and they were surprised that it was that high. Gladiator got a slight buff. Skewer parry window is now 166 milliseconds, down from 200 milliseconds. The parry window starts at the same timing, but ends 33 milliseconds earlier than usual. So they're giving Gladiator the pirate treatment on that unblockable. Shinobi got a revenge buff. Sickle Rain now generates 30 revenge, down from 55. And now the moment that we've all been waiting for. Conqueror got the roll catcher. It has arrived, so it is a buff for Conqueror. It's a new move called Crashing Apprehension. It's a forward dodge heavy attack. It counts as a heavy opener from top. It acts as a chain starter, i.e. it can branch to infinite lights, heavies, and shield bash. It can be feinted at normal feint timing. It can be soft feinted with full block stance, whether at startup or recovery. So it's the same rule as full block stance cancel, and that note is in the moveset page. So this is great news for you Conqueror players. You've been wanting this and you have this. I'm happy for you, and make the most of it. To wrap this up, they mentioned a skill increase that we should be getting from matches. I don't know exactly what that skill increase is going to be. I think we're just gonna have to see how that's applied. I don't really understand it, so don't quote me on anything with that. I just heard them mention it during the den, but I didn't really get too many details. We also have Hero Fest that are coming up in October for Scent on October 2nd, JJ October 9th, and Orochi October 16th. They mentioned the Goblin Gang were the 4v4 winners from this year's Triple Threat Tournament. Congrats to the Goblin Gang, because that was a test of endurance and skill and ability, and they were able to take everybody out and wear the crown. So that's all from the den. A ton of information, solid changes, testing grounds, new event mode to experience, finally a Nobushi skin to represent with. I am happy we have one. Cross progression. I mean, there was a lot of positives coming out of this one. The game continues to head in a positive direction. Thank y'all for tuning in. I hope you like and share the video if you appreciate this For Honor content. The weapons and the armor variations are up next. I will probably break some of this out into separate videos because I feel it does get lost at times mentioning so much in one video when some people just want a topic or two. So when you see those other videos, you'll know why. It's for those people and not necessarily you if you actually watch the whole thing. So I appreciate your support. Until next time, y'all. Peace.
Despair takes a hold of me.